What would actually happen if the housing market crashed in Birmingham, Alabama? Hey, thanks for joining me today. If you're new here, my name is Adam Snow, a local real estate agent here in Birmingham, Alabama. Today, we're diving into a question that I know has crossed a lot of buyers' minds, and honestly, it keeps a lot of people sitting on the sidelines. What if the market crashes? Should you wait? Should you buy now? And what would it actually look like if home prices in Birmingham took a hit? Let's break it all down using real data, past market trends, and a long-term perspective that I think most people miss when they get caught up in the fear of a crash. Let's get into it. To understand where we're going, we need to look at where we've been. So I'm pulling up the S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller U.S. National Home Price Index. It tracks home values across the country all the way back to 1988, and it's seen it all. Early 90s recession, dot-com bubble in the early 2000s, the 2008 financial crash, and even a little correction in 2020. And yet every single time the market recovered. So let's zoom in on 1991. So as you can see, there was a noticeable drop in home values due to a mild recession caused by high interest rates and rising unemployment, and the fallout from the savings and loan crisis. But if you zoom back out, it barely registers. It's just a blimp on the radar. It felt dramatic at the time, but over a 30-year mortgage, it definitely didn't really matter. Let's look at 2008, for example, the largest housing crash in modern U.S. history. Home values didn't just dip, they plummeted. Nationally, prices fell over 20%, and in some harder hit markets like Las Vegas, Phoenix, and parts of Florida, home prices dropped 40 to 60%. Foreclosures skyrocketed, but here's something a lot of people get wrong. Foreclosures didn't just happen because home values fell. The real issue was that millions of people were in risky loans, products they never should have qualified for, adjustable rate mortgages, stated income loans with no income verification, interest-only loans, you name it. People were being approved for based on speculative future income, not what they actually could afford. When those teaser rates adjusted, their payments doubled overnight, and they couldn't keep up. That's why so many people lost their homes. It wasn't just because prices declined. It was bad lending practices that created a massive wave of unstable debt. But since then, lending standards have changed dramatically. Today's mortgage process is much, much stricter. You need to document your income, your debts, your assets. Banks want to know if you can actually afford the home you're qualifying for. And we'll go extra steps to make sure that what you're saying is actually true. So even if prices soften today, we're not sitting on a pile of toxic loans like we were back then. The foundation is a lot stronger. And here's what often people forget. Even after all the market recovered, by 2012, home prices began rising again. By 2016, the national median price had already returned pre-crash levels and kept climbing. In fact, homeowners who bought at the bottom, most of them doubled their equity over the next 10 years. So yes, 2008 was dramatic, but if you zoom out, it's just a dip in a long-term upward trend. And people who stayed the course or bought during the downturn came out ahead. Let's say you bought at the top right before the market crashed, say July 2006. It's 184, as you can see. In just 10 years, it's already back to where it was when you bought. And that's even through the worst recession our country has ever experienced. Now let's bring it closer to home. What about Birmingham? Here's the thing. Birmingham has historically been one of the most stable housing markets in the country. We don't usually experience the extreme highs and lows that some larger metro areas do. During the 2008 crash, while places like Phoenix or Las Vegas saw prices fall by 30 to 50%, Birmingham saw a modest dip closer to 10 to 15. And it recovered more steadily. Why? Because our market isn't driven by speculation. And when you look at current fundamentals, we have low inventory, strong job growth in healthcare, finance, tech, and several others. And while interest rates are higher than a few years ago, buyers are still buying and sellers aren't desperate. So is a crash possible? Sure, anything is. But will it look like 2008? Almost certainly not. Okay, so this is looking at Las Vegas and Birmingham housing price index. So Las Vegas is the dotted line, Birmingham is the solid line. And so as you can see, obviously Las Vegas had bigger highs and also bigger lows. But you can see for Las Vegas, it took them from 2008 all the way past 2014 for them to come back to where they were at right when the crash happened. And if you were to stretch this out, it's another probably 5 or 10 years before they even get back up to their highest point. Whereas Birmingham, we kind of recovered pretty fastly. You can kind of see we obviously didn't have as big of appreciation, but with that, we also didn't have extremely low depreciation. I think that's a great thing to see with Birmingham is when everything was the wildest and the worst it's ever been, we still recovered pretty fast, and we just really didn't have a big dip like everyone else. So here's a question I want to consider. If home prices drop tomorrow, would it matter? Because if you're buying a home in Birmingham and plan to stay for 5, 10, 20 years, it may not. Because it's not about the short-term dip, it's about the long-term upside. If you're renting right now, let's talk numbers. A $1,500 monthly rent is $18,000 a year. Over 5 years, that's $90,000 paid to your landlord with zero equity to show for it. Meanwhile, even if your home value is dropped in the first couple of years, you're still building equity every time you make a mortgage payment. That is a big piggy bank that you're putting money into every year. And if you stay long enough, history tells us that the market will correct itself and go up. Again, think about 2008. If you bought at the highest point right before 2008, it still corrected itself, and you can look at where we are now. So when I sit down with a buyer, and I also have them sit down with a lender, I always want to know, do you have job security? Can you reasonably afford this home even if prices stay flat or dip slightly? Are you planning to stay for a while? If you answer yes to those questions, then buying a home now may still be a smart move, even in a shaky market. Timing the market rarely works because no one really knows what's going to happen. Will rates be down this time next year? Maybe. Maybe not. 2 years ago, people were predicting we would have rates in the 4s and 5s now. Heck, even last year, that was what most people were saying. So timing the market never really works because we just don't know for sure when it's going to happen. Timing the market is what builds wealth. So what would happen if housing market crashes in Birmingham? For most buyers who are thinking long term, honestly, not much. If you're buying smart with a plan and you're not overextending yourself, you're probably going to be okay. In fact, you'll probably come out ahead. Again, history tells us that prices are going to go up because at the end of the day, real estate isn't just about timing. It's about ownership, equity, and building a future that belongs to you, not your landlord. Don't let fear stop you from taking the first steps. If you're thinking about buying or selling in Birmingham, I'd love to help. My contact info is below and in the comments. And please, please, please don't hear all this and think Adam is telling you to run off and buy any house at any price. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is this. If you're smart with your money, if you don't over leverage yourself or max out just because the bank says you can qualify for X, if you've got a solid job or 2 solid jobs, and you've got some money set aside for maintenance and repairs because yes, those costs will come up, then buying a home in a good location, you'll almost always come out on top in the long run. Don't let fear take you away what could be an amazing opportunity. If you would like to talk more about this, I would love the opportunity. I also would love to get you in contact with some amazing lenders that have been doing this a long, long time and can also give you solid advice. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.